This is Unity, and this is the game you're going to be making. It's a 2D side-scrolling platformer game. All of the assets, all of the code are posted in the description. I made the code, I made the assets. All of them are free to use. Let me play what it is. Let me show it off to you, and then we'll get started making. Okay, so this car, Mr. Tire Man, boom, and I always die there. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Little Tire Man, boom. And notice the gas cans are our coins. Oh gosh, big tire. Ooh, got him. Oh my gosh, am I gonna beat this? Boom. Yeah. Okay, okay. This is the biggest guy. And so what this allows us to do is really get acquainted with the physics of Unity, with how 2D platformers and games in general in a 2D environment, how objects interact and work with one another. One thing before we get going that I just noticed that you'll see in the development of our game, our flag isn't showing. Sorting layer, objects. Perfect. Without further ado, let's get going building this. Alright, 2D, what should I call this? Side scroll fun. I'm deeply creative. Alright. And that's it, great. Oh, there are my sprites I'm going to use. I guess I could tuck those away somewhere else for now. And here we are, Unity. Okay, and well, speaking of my assets, here we are. These are my sprites. I did make them, I do own them. You are free to use all the assets. Let me just drag them in here. Boop, 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 boop. Perfect. Goodbye for now. Alright, let's go ahead. I'm going to create a folder, just keep things organized, called sprites. Okay. And now that I have a folder called sprites, I'm holding shift so I could select all those at once. Let me drop in my sprites. Alright, let's do the background first because that makes sense. And I just slapped it down. I'm actually just going to leave it like that. I like how it looks, but I am going to title it background. And then for the platform that our player will be standing on, since, you know, it's a platformer, let me grab, well, one of our platforms. Pada. Alright, that's looking good. Let me rename it over here. Platform. Perfect. So I want it kind of more pressed down. Let's first do sizing. This should be a sizable platform. Let's see how, I don't know, 2? Okay, length looks good. I would like it a wider base. Oh yeah, that's definitely better. Okay. And then we're going to press this down some. Yeah. And then over. That's probably too much. I want it to hang over this way too. Let's try like a... That's pretty good. It still seems maybe a negative 1.5. I want it more this way because, well, you'll see. I think that is looking great. Okay, so that's where I'm going to leave it. And then we will need a collider on this, right? We need the player to be able to stand on top of our platform. So let me go ahead and add a, ooh, it's already on it, box collider. Let's edit our collider here. That is humongous. Like midway through probably. Not super concerned about the bottom of it there. Okay, let's zoom in. So, and I just want it to go to the edge. I don't want it to be that much over. So something like that is great. And I'm going to do the same over here. Great. All right. So I think we're ready for our player. Now my player for this is going to be a red sports car. There's also this blue one. So I guess it's kind of up to you. I like the red. Whoop-a-da. And we can't see it. Right. So we should start with that. I am going to call it player because it's our player. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some sorting layer. I'm going to add a sorting layer. I'm going to add a few of these. So we have our default. I'm going to have one called platform for the platform. I'm going to have one called player for the player. objects, I guess I should say platforms. And objects will be things like blocks to jump over and all of that. That looks good for now. So let's go back to our player and give our player a sorting layer of player. But awesome. Alright, now I want to mess with scale because that's way too big. That's still going to be too big for a side scroller. Let's try half of that. Oh, that could work. Okay, let's zoom in on this. I'm going to drop you over here and, you know, starting over here somewhere. Maybe a bit more. But like this, letting them drop a bit. Might as well be exact. Negative 6.3 I think was looking good to me, and negative 2.5. What was I at? 7, sure. Alright. That is great. Now, for our player, we're also going to need, well, a box collider and a rigid body. Okay, so the rigid body allows it to have its own physics. Okay, so we got a rigid body now. We can leave this as is. Let's change up the collider. Yep, it's too big as well. Boom. 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 And boom. And actually, I should get close to the edge of the wheels here. And great. Okay. Let's also, we don't need our player to be flipping around, so I'm going to freeze the Z axis. We don't want it to rotate and fall over backwards. Alright, so this is looking good. Let me do a Control S to save. Let's go ahead next and add, actually, let's get our player moving, so let's add some script. So here's our player. I'm going to hit Add Component, and I'm going to type player script, because I'm creative. New script, player script, create and add. Let's go look at our assets here, and here's our player script. Okay, I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to name it scripts. There we are. Let me drag in my player script, dive in, and let's open it up. Perfect. And let me just, boop. Ooh, that's way small. But let's just shrink this down so we can kind of get some of both. There we are. Okay, so we first want to focus on movement for our player. So to do that, we need a few different variables. We're going to have a private int called move speed, which is going to be, well, the speed of the movement. I'll set it to 6 for now. It just makes it easier to control if we have a variable at the top. And now we need some Boolean values. Okay, and I'll explain in a sec, but we want a private bool called isWritePressed. And that's going to be equal to false, because the right key wouldn't be being pressed the second the game starts. Well, I guess it could be, but it will change in the code if it is. Is left pressed, and that's going to equal false. And a Boolean just means it's a true or false value. You either write the word true or false. Technically, it's a 1 or a 0. 1 being true, 0 being false, but Boolean is up. And we're not going to use this just yet, but might as well have it is up pressed, false. All right. Now, with these, we are going to want to use these to have our player move. The reason I created these, the reason we have these, is because we're not going to just use update. Update is great, but we need something to work more at a regular schedule. So what I'm adding right now is a private void fixed update. I guess fixed update. So fixed update always runs at the same fixed rate. It's more dependable for physics. So we don't want our player to be, for the physics to depend on update, because it's not always exactly the same speed, and it can make the player move sporadically and kind of strangely. Fixed update is always the same rate. It will always go through the frames at the same speed, and so the movement that is done to the player looks smooth and, well, correct. That being said, since fixed update is run at a regular rate and not just sporadically and as fast as possible, it is better to always get player input, user input, from void update. Void update's going to run more. It's going to be more reliable to get input. So we want to ask in this, hey, are these keys down? And we want to use that information to provide regular, dependable movement in our fixed update function. And that's what we're doing with this. So this is right pressed. I'm going to just set equal to a question. And by question, I mean input dot get key code right arrow. And what this question is, hey computer, is there an input key? Is there a key down, right? Is something being input into the computer? Is that key a right arrow? And all the computer can say is true or false. And that's what this will equal. This will either be true, yep, right arrow is down, or false, the right arrow is not down. Okay? And we're going to do the exact same now for the left arrow key. I just copied that because I'm being lazy. I'm going to replace this with the word left and left. Okay. And we can go ahead and do up as well. Up and up. All right. Now for Fixedupdate. This is where we actually have the movement take place. So to do this, we're going to need a vector3. I just title it POS for position, and it's going to be equal to transform.position. Okay, just to the player's transform position. Now, what is all this I'm talking about? Look, here's the transformer, here's position. So it's that data we're grabbing and setting vector3 equal to this data. Now, if I'm asking the computer question here, hey, is the right pressed? So that's the variable we created and we assigned to whatever's happening with the computer. So if the computer said true up here and made this true, when we run Fixedupdate, when it runs it automatically, it will say this is true, and we would then ask the computer to say, okay, make that position X equal to position X plus move speed times time dot delta time. All right, what's this doing? Well, position X is going to be equal to whatever position X used to be equal to plus the move speed. So how fast they're supposed to be moving, and then we're multiplying it by delta time, because we want to make sure if a second has passed or 3 seconds have passed, we multiply it by the right amount of time, because they should go 3 car lengths than 3 seconds maybe. And it would be strange if we didn't account for that for time. By the way, so we take the position X is now going to be equal to whatever the old position X is equal to plus. We can shorthand this and only write position X once, and to do that you would just do this, and that's very common in programming. Okay, so with that, what's next? Well, we are going to say transform.position is going to be equal to position. So this position we just made, this new position change we did to position, we're setting it equal to the transform position. And then, last thing I want to do is kind of fun. I like to make sure that our sprite is facing the right way. Sprite renderer. And so I use this here. So for the player, when we're hitting the left key or the right key, yes, I'm making it move, but I'm also going to grab from sprite renderer the flip component and X. And if they're going left, make them go left or right. And that's what I just did here. Flip X false, because they'd be going right, and so I wouldn't want it to flip X around. Okay. Now, I'm almost going to do this exact same thing, so I'm just going to copy it, for Y. I mean, for left. So, left, and we would want minus here, because they're going in the other direction, and we would want true here. I'm providing the sound effects, don't get scared. It's working well. Awesome. So we have a moving player. All right, let's go ahead and add an obstacle to our game. So I'm going to use the construction cone or a construction barrel, because how would that not be an appropriate obstacle for this type of a game? Let's zoom out. There we are. Okay, so let's go ahead and name this obstacle. Right? And we do have a, nope, that's the wrong one. We need layer object, layer, okay? And we're gonna scale this way down, I think. So let's do 3 and 3. Ooh, that might be too small. Let's try something more like, well, I see we're so not, you know, that's looking all right. We just don't need it that tall. I don't know, 22? Huh, that might work. All right, let's move this around some. I want it closer to the player, but not too close. Zoom in some. Hey, not bad. Negative 2.25. That looks good. Okay. So now we have an obstacle. Now, for our obstacle, we want to add a collider. We're not going to add a rigid body because we don't need it to move. We don't want gravity to impact it or anything like that. We just want to have for the player to be able to hit it, for things to be able to know they have smashed into it. And I am just going to use the box collider. That is awesome. So let's now make sure that the player can jump over this, because right now our player cannot. So let's work on that. So to do that, I'm going to head down here on Fixedupdate, because again it's physics, and I'm going to check just like I did with the other ones. I'm going to say if is up pressed. And if it is, I missed I need this one line up. There we go. That should fix it. All right. Is up pressed. So that's going to be different than just moving left and right because we want to apply upward force. So rigid player, we need to get the player's rigid body, which we did apply, right? So player, rigid body right here. We need to get, I need to declare this up here. All right. So, and we'll use start in a bit. Let's do rigid body 2D, and I'm just going to call mine rigid player. Okay. And then, well, speaking of using this, we're going to do, there we go. So we wait to do it at start because we want the game going and have created the rigid body before we grab it. All right, so now that we have that sorted out, rigid player dot add force, because we're, well, adding force, we need to make a new vector 2, 0f, I guess I don't need that, jump power I'm going to use, and then comma, force mode 2d dot impulse. Oh, did we not make jump power? Right. Jump power is going to be like movement speed, honestly. So right here, I'm just going to do private. I'll make this a float, though. Jump power is going to be equal to 4.0. Make sure to put an F behind floats. Otherwise, Unity reads them as doubles. So, back down here, we have our jump. That's looking pretty good. Let's give it a shot. Save all that. So there is going to be one problem with this, and that's what I just did, is the problem. I can launch into space. I'm going to come back. I might have held it too long. Oh, nope, there I am. Ah, kwaboom! Perfect shape. No problem here. All right, so we need to make it so that doesn't happen. Jumping physics is actually something super frustrating in Unity. Being able to hold down on the arrow key, we don't want that to happen. We want them to only be able to hit jump once and then wait for them to land on the ground again. To do that, I have a bit of a trick that is so much easier than a lot of other methods. I'm going to have player selected and then click create empty, and I'm just going to call this on ground because that's all we're going to do with it. We're checking if the player's on the ground. And I'm going to give it a box collider. Didn't keep my name there. Okay, and we got a box collider on it. Boom, where are you? Okay, so there we are. Let's move this down. And if I click on the player, I can see the player's collider as well. And what I'm going to do with the scale of this for X, let's try 2. Whoa, much more than that. 8. Around 12. I don't want it the whole character because then it will get set off at the wrong moments. Okay, so let's start with it right at 12 there. That's looking good. And we want to add some script to this as well. And if you didn't guess it, on ground script. Create and add. And now let's just move that into our scripts folder. There we are, on ground, open this guy up. Now how this is going to work is first we want to get the player. And this is actually a child of the player. That's what they call it. That will be somewhat easy. So GameObject player, and then to grab the player I'm just going to say player equals GameObject.transform.parent.GameObject. So we're saying, hey, grab the transform parent GameObject. Now we have the player for this. I'm going to get rid of that. Alright, so with the... Oh, actually, I don't even need update for this. I need an on collision 2D. Perfect. What we're doing here is, once we know we have collided with that platform, we want to set up a variable that we can use inside of the player script. So, let's see. I'm going to go up here and say private on platform equals true, because they start on it, and I need to put bool here. Alright. Oh, we need that public. Alright. Now with that available, we're going to say, hey, if the collision.collider.tag equals platform, and we haven't been using tags yet, but we will. So if it is equal to platform, player.get component player script on platform is going to be set equal to true. So what this is doing, I'm saying, hey, on collision, and collision will be this parameter, this argument's going to always be what I just hit. So whatever the ground on the ground just hit, that's going to be collision. And so I say, okay, if the collision collider, that thing you just hit, if the tag is named platform, click on my platform here. We don't have a tag for it yet, so we should change that. Platform, okay. Let's add a few of these actually. Obstacle as well. So, platform. If that tag is platform, what do we want to do? Oh, we want to tell the player component that the on platform is true. And then we're going to use that inside of player when if up is pressed. Okay, that's great. We're also going to say is on platform true. Because if this isn't true, they're not on the platform, we're not going to let them jump again. Right? But now we have to make sure that we can set it to off. Right now I just set it to on, right? But also we need to be able to set it to off. So that you do by on collision exit 2D. So that would be when they're leaving the collision, when they're no longer in contact. So on exit, what am I going to do? Control C this, Control V, right? Copy and paste, and then write false. I want to set that to false because they have exited the platform. Now let's see what happens. And I can only press it once. So that is what we want. Perfect. All right. It is already kind of fun. Cool. Let's keep going. Now we want... Ooh. Let's go ahead and start adding enemies. First, we're going to make prefabs. And a prefab is a saved instance of an object that is reusable. So I don't want to have to resize this each time and give it a box collider. So what I do is I'm going to drag it into my new prefabs folder. Now I'm just going to drag it out. And now it's that size. It has the box collider how I want it. And all of that. Let me kind of get it set up though. Something like that. It's great. All right. Now for our enemy. Our enemy is the famous Tire Man. I really enjoyed making him. I made these cars, right, with the wheels, and I was like, oh my gosh, what else can I do with the tire? And that happened. Anyways, all right. Enemy. And the tire has more trident details. Enemy is Tire Man. I'm actually going to start Tire Man facing left, because that's where the car is currently. And size-wise, let's do 0.4, otherwise he would just crush the car, and 0.4. Something like that, maybe. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. We need him up a bit. That's great, and then that looks good. Oh, how did you get down here? Ah. Great. So our enemy is set to go. Now we need to give him code. We want to make our enemy walk back and forth. To do that, though, we want to add some box gliders, great, and then a rigid body as well, because our enemy will have some physics. Double click on enemy. Quit Shaw. Boom. And while I'm doing this, honestly, I'm going to add a way to detect if the enemy has been bonked on the head. And so just like the player with on ground, I'm going to right click on enemy. I'm going to do create empty, and I'm going to say on head. And I want a collider, because we want to know if the player smacked into the enemy's head, because then the enemy dies. Otherwise, the player would die. How's that going? So I do make this area slightly smaller, and that's just like what I did on the player. Yeah, something like that is perfect. I'm gonna do that. Great. Now we need some code. Let's add on enemy script. Oh no, enemy script, and create. So assets, enemy script. Drag this over to scripts, and open it up. Okay. So for our enemy, we want to have our enemy be walking back and forth between these two barrels. So we're going to make it when they smack into an object, our enemy turns around and automatically moves the other way. To do that, we need I'm going to use a private int. Direction is going to be equal to -1. And then the other thing we're going to want is a private vector 3 movement, which is just like what we were using with the player. Now with that set, let's go ahead and I don't need start, I do need update. So on update, what I want to have happen is I want to take my movement variable and say it's equal to new vector 3, and what is that going to be? 2 times direction 0f 0f. And then we're going to transform that position, and that's going to be equal to the transform dot position plus movement, and this should look familiar. It's the same thing we used with the player. Dot delta time. Transform position is equal to transform position plus movement times the amount of time that has passed. Now again, I want to shorthand that with this. It means the same thing. So movement is going to be equal to yep, and then and we can do all of this since it's involves physics and it's for the enemy. We can do all of it in Fixedupdate. And then the other thing we want to do is if transform.position.y is less than -7. So if it's less than -7, guys, that would mean he fell off the screen. We're going to go ahead and destroy that object. So sudden. Boom. We don't want the computer to have to keep track of an object that's just falling through space forever. Now what else we need is an on collision enter 2D. Right? And on the event of a collision, we want to say direction is going to be equal to whatever direction used to be equal to times -1. So we're multiplying direction by -1 each time. So it's always going to flip what it's equal to. So if direction equals 1, right? So if it's equal to 1, if it's not negative, get component sprite renderer, get the sprite renderer, and just like we did with the player, we're going to flip. So we're going to say false if they're going right, and then else if it's not equal to 1. The only other option would be -1. So else get, and I'm going to be lazy, Command C, Command V, true. Let me hit save on all of this, and let's see. Boom. Boom. Looking good. So we do want to fix, where's my enemy here? Our enemy should be on the player's level, well, not label. Alright, regardless, looking great. Let's go ahead and now work on the head of our head detection. On head script, new and create. Assets. Scripts, drop it in. Click. On head. Alright, so for this guy, we want first the game object of enemy, right? So, and then how are we going to get it? Well, same way we got the player, okay? So I'm just going to Command C this, player, game object, transform, because on head script is the parent of the on head script is the enemy. So, paste, and copy, paste. Now that we have that, we also want to know if the enemy has been hit. So I'm going to declare a Boolean value, hit, and set it equal to false. Alright. Now for our fixed update. Oh, this is update. We'll get rid of that. Fixed update. So on fixed update, we want to know if hit and not whew, that was a struggle. So what I'm saying here, if I am hit, if the enemy is hit, and enemy.getComponentRenderer is visible. So I'm asking, hey, is the enemy even on the screen? That's what this says. Is the enemy on the screen? And actually, it might be easier to read if I do bool is enemy on screen equals true to start. Okay, and then I would take this, I'm going to do Command C, and paste it here, and then I'm going to just cut this and say equals, boom. And now I can use, so that will do the same thing. Okay, so this is handling, if the enemy is off the screen, if we've killed it, this is going to destroy it. And I'm doing that because we put fixed update up near start, and the code we're going to do under this will be the action of just of killing the enemy. All right, so destroy enemy dot game object is what we want. That is it. Okay, and so I'm doing this within the on head because only if the enemy is hit on the head do I want the enemy destroyed. Otherwise, the enemy hit the player. So now I destroyed the enemy by grabbing the enemy, and now I'm going to destroy. You have to do enemy first before doing this block, which was the on head object. Now destroy this.game object. And this means literally this thing, this on head object we made. Alright, so now we got rid of those. And now let's do the collision function that I was looking for. Alright, on collision 2D enter, yes. So if the collision dot collider dot name is equal to, make sure to put 2 equals because that's the only way you can ask this. 1 equals makes a new variable. So if the collider's name is on ground, right? So if it's the bottom of the player, if our player jumped on the enemy's head, we want the enemy dot get component rigidbody 2D is what we need here. Dot gravity, we're gonna make our enemy fall. It's gonna be equal to 3. Okay. Now enemy dot get component sprite renderer dot flip y. We're also going to turn them upside down for that fall. Okay. And then get component. So now what we're doing is the game object we're on, which is the onHead object. Get component, and we want to delete the collider. Collider 2D dot enabled equals false. Enemy dot get component collider 2D dot enabled equals false, and that's to make sure they can fall through the door, through the floor, and then I'm going to hit equal to true. So now the computer knows, hey, the player's been hit, right, because of this hit, and I'm going to have them fall. The reason I'm doing on Fixedupdate, I don't want to destroy the game object right away, otherwise they just disappear. I want the enemy to fall down, and then once they're once they're off the screen, they will destroy the object, so the computer doesn't have to keep track of it. Let's save all this, and we have a few things we got to work on real quick. Enemy rotation needs to go off. Oop, that's not Rigidbody. That is. Now, the obstacles, they're not tagged. Obstacle. And I'm going to apply this to the sprite, to the prefab, apply all. So this one should auto change. Yep, obstacle. So now we want to make sure the player can jump on ground if it's equal to platform. I'm going to copy this. We also want it not just if it's platform, what if it's an obstacle? If obstacle. Oh, not and, or. That'd be a problem. So we want to do a few things. For instance, let's go ahead and add another platform. Let me go, oh, I want to make a prefab out of this. Yeah, I got a box collider. Yep, I'm going to have a prefab for our platform. Platform, drag and drop. There we are. Drag and drop. Great. And I'm going to change it up though. Instead of this light purple, I'm going to use the yellow one. Okay. Yeah. And I want it in front of this other one. So let's go ahead and put it on as a platform. This I like, and let me just double check its box collider. Yeah. Yep, that's looking good too. So let's go to the main camera, and we're going to add a component, and camera script. It is create. Assets, and camera script is going into my scripts. And there we are. Open. Okay. What do we need here? Well, we're going to make the camera follow the player. It's a side-scrolling game. We're going to need a couple variables. So first, private game object player. Okay. And then I want the background to stay the same. We could get like a panoramic image and have the background scroll, but that's not what I want. I think my background is far enough off in the distance that it can be the same. So I'm going to get the background. Okay. And then we need some public float for the X-Men, public float for X-Max, public for Y-Max, all right? Now on start, we're going to grab these two things. So player is going to be equal to GameObject.find, yeah, player, because that's what I named the player, right? So I'm looking for whatever I named them in here. And then I'm going to do background is going to be equal to GameObject. Perfect. And now I grabbed those two. Okay. And this, thankfully, is not that long, code-wise. So on update, what do I want to do? Well, I want my float x, so I'm declaring a new variable. It's a local one. Float x is going to be equal to mathf clamp player.transform.position.x xmin x max. And then float y is going to be equal to math f clamp player dot transform dot position dot y comma y min comma y max. Okay. And if you're wondering what math clamp is, what's it doing is it's taking these three values, the y position, y min, and y max, and it's returning the maximum value. It's assessing these and comparing them. So what do we want it to do now? Well, we want game object dot transform position to be equal to vector 3 x comma y comma game object dot transform dot position dot z. Okay, so what we're going to set the camera equal to is to whatever x this comes out with, whatever y this comes out with, and then the position z already was. We're not changing that at all. Oh, I missed a word here. We need the word new. And then I also want to make sure that background tags along. There we are. And that will set us up so our background will follow along. All right. Now let's work on some of the code for our player. For instance, our jump is a bit wonky, so let's do a gravity function. So let's call this private void manage gravity. Okay. Now, when should we do this? If on platform, so if the player is on a platform, right? Rigid player dot gravity scale. We're gonna just return it to the normal, which our starting is 1.0. Otherwise, so at all other points, else I want rigid player dot gravity scale plus equals. So we're adding to this 0.1f. If, because we don't want it to get too high, so we're going to say if rigid player dot gravity scale is greater than 4, we'll say. And we could adjust that later, but if it's greater than 4, I'm just going to set it at 4. So 4 will be the ceiling, if you will. That way it doesn't become a billion and they can't even move. So, equals. So if it's greater than 4, we want it to be set at 4 stably. Alright. Ooh, let's also then, what if they fall off the bottom of the screen like we did with the enemy? So for the player, let's do an if transform dot position dot y is less than -7. Okay, so if they fall off the bottom of the screen, oh, we haven't added a score. We got to do that. But we would want a score text. And I would change the color because this is when they lose. And then we're going to make it say game over, boom, boom. And then rigid player dot gravity is going to be equal to 0f. Alright, we're not going to delete the player, but we're going to hide them in essence beneath the screen. Which is kind of fun because then they can still scroll around. I love it. We're going to use our position.y and set it equal -8. Right? That's what we used. Oh, we didn't use y, but we used position up here. Alright, position.y, and we're going to set that equal to -8. And then transform position is equal to that new position. Right? So the score text is angry at us. It's because we don't have a score text yet. So let's do... First, I need to do using Unity in engine.ui. And now I can say public text score text. Okay. And let's save all of this. And now, so now we're going to add a canvas. Let's go ahead. I'm going to right click and create a UI and a canvas. All right. I'm going to just rename this main canvas. I do it. Okay. Main canvas. And then on that main canvas, we're going to add some text for score. I'm going to make it say 0, 0, 0. I usually size mine right at 45. I'm going to definitely want it to be white for this game. Boom. And let's center. I'm going to, nope, actually on the right side, I'm going to have it in this corner. And then centered in that. You don't want it to wrap, otherwise you can't see it. Overflow. All right, let's go find our, let's name it. Score text, yeah. Okay. While I'm thinking of a main canvas over here, you want it to be scale with screen size. Scale with screen size. Score text. I'm going to lock to be up in the top right. Let's go find score text. I'm going to zoom way out. Yeah. So what are my numbers? We'll say negative 95, negative 30 is working for me. Yep. Perfect. All right. So with that ready, let me go to my player. And since I made this public score text, if I go over here, it's listed. So I can just click and score text. Boom. Awesome. So, awesome. Oh, and then there's the fact that we haven't been able to score points yet, and that's because, there's my sprites, we need some gas cans. Okay. And I just call this a coin, so I'm still going to call it a coin. And I'm going to make a tag that says coin. True. Save. All right. And now let's go to it and do, it needs to be much smaller than that. 0.08 maybe. Oh, there it is. I had to put it on the player layer. All right. Probably something like that. Maybe higher. All right. Now what I want to do with that, well, let me first make sure is all that. Yep, so we fixed all of this. That's great. Also, make sure to run manage gravity each time. All right. And now way down here, we need a on collision. On collision enter 2D is perfect if collision.collider.tag equals coin, right? So if it's equal to coin, we want our score to go up by 1, which we can do by writing, I need a variable, score plus plus. You can also do score equals score plus 1. It means the exact same thing that I just wrote. So score plus plus or score equals score plus 1. And then we say grab that score text dot, and we're going to set it equal to the score, but the score right now is an integer, so we need to make it a string. So score dot toString, right? And then we're going to destroy the coin. So destroy the collision, that thing we collided with, the game object. Get rid of that for us. Now, we also haven't done if we smack into the enemies, to the bad guys. So let me double check, have we tagged them? Nope. All right. Enemy it is. Save. All right. And now go to my enemy. Tag. Enemy. All right. So now we want an else if else if that tag equals enemy, what do we want to have happen? Well, we're going to say the score text is going to go to red. Score text is red. Score text will be equal to game over. On platform, this is so the player can't jump anymore, is equal to false, because they're going to fall off the screen. Rigid player dot gravity is equal to 3. That's pushing them off the screen. But to be able to do that, we need well, first let's flip them around. How about? We need to grab their collider, and enabled is going to be equal to false. Goodbye. And then I'm going to copy and paste this, but for the on ground. And have I used on ground in this? No. So I need to grab on ground here. And so let me go up here. On ground was the game object on ground. And then to get it, we're going to do we're going to use get child just to kind of show you other ways of doing things here. And it's going to be the 0th child. We could get it by the name still, but all right. There we are. This is looking good. Oh, I wonder if, let me go to my platform. Let's do an order layer. Order, sorting order. We already had one. Platform, sorting order. Oh, that one had it. Okay. I'm going to hit save on all this. Let's hit play. There we are. Okay. Let's increase the jump power. Little kinks. What if I do a 4 or 5 and save that? So I wasn't able to get the coin. Ooh, why is my camera not moving? I know we did that. Oh, we have to set it up. Okay, so here's the min and the max. Let's try 60. Did the coin? Ah, it's not coinified. Coin. Does it have a collider? That would be a problem. Do something smaller. Okay. Let's try it now. Ooh, and our points went up. Awesome. Okay, so let's make a prefab out of our coin. Or our gas can. And now we can start working on level building. Let's make sure though. So if... game mode, perfect. Okay, so that's all going great. Now's where it gets real fun. Actually, I'm going to move this guy out farther. They're too close. Let's make the player jump. What level is this at? I'm going to want 3 of these guys. Except, move these down a bit. Let's make them get bigger. So maybe this one is 0.3 is high. And then I think they deserve a point for that, or a coin. So let's put 1 here maybe, and then maybe 1 here. And why not on the way to get to this though? I have to dodge this dude. Oh, I'm going to make that one small though. So 0.25, 0.17, just a little one. And then let's go ahead and, oop, I want my enemy. We're going to get our enemy as a prefab and drop our enemy here. We did like a mini one. See, you can really start having fun with this. And now let's do and then let's do a really big one. I have no idea how they would do that. Oh, you'll have to wait and jump on the dude's head. Ah, it seems too large. Let's do 0.5, 0.5. Let's move them around a bit. Okay. And we need an obstacle over here to stop them. I'm going to grab another platform, drop it down, and form. And this will actually be the obstacle that stops them. Let's make sure. This goes right out there, stops them cold, and then what should be on this? And this gets really fun really quick, actually. So I'm going to use more of these, right? Maybe 1 here. I'm going to make this platform longer. And this is going to be the win area, I guess. And maybe if they touch this, I'll have it say, finish, or you win. Ooh, let's put in our bad guys. Oh, nope, I don't want that. I want prefabs. 1 here, And let's do this guy instead of 0.4, 0.5. And let's do 0.55, 0.55. And then some coins. Let me save all this. Let's give it a shot. Guess. Boom. Goodbye. Jump. Oh, I didn't make it. Ooh, that jump. Okay. I'm going to increase the size of my jump because I'm a cheater. Boom. Oh, I must hit the front end. Let's just switch up with those colliders some. Do it. There we go. Oh my gosh. I don't think that jump. Let's just say just a little. Okay, maybe a little more. Alright. I want to make sure I apply that. And then let's increase the size of the camera. 75. I'm going to hit save and let's try again. No! Ooh, jumped. Yeah. I hate this guy. Boom, goodbye. Okay, another big one. No! Alright, regardless, let's do one more thing and say else if tag. Let's do name. And I'm going to name the cone. Cone. Oh, it's called obstacle 9. Cone. If it's named cone, and I'm going to copy and paste this score text and say, you win. Alright, now let's just see if I can make it there. You know, I'm thinking, I don't think that's going to help at all. I think I just need to believe in myself. Okay. I'm going to maximize on play. Boom. Go. This one's tricky. And he does it. I am scared. Yes! And we win! Ah! Crowd goes wild. I hope you, well, maybe, had as much fun as I just did. And I hope you made something really, really, really awesome that you should definitely tell me about. You should brag about. You should show it off. You should let some of your friends play. Again, all of my code, all of the assets, I really want to make sure that's on the screen. All of the assets are in the description. So please make use of them. I own the assets. I created the code. You are welcome to them. Also, definitely hit like and hit subscribe. It is kind. It gives me warm fuzzies and makes me want to keep doing this. But make something cool. Tell me about it in the comments. Ta-da!